Welcome back to Arifureta anime review episode number 6. This is reviewing the very first episode of season 2 of the anime, which is called Irregular. Yep. Now this one I did look it up, and this one covers pretty much the entire prelude of the book. Plus, pretty much in a way, I think this episode covers like about 20 pages of the book, like not much. Mostly it's a bit of expansion. It does, like I said, it does adapt the entirety of the prelude, which is only just a few pages anyways. I was surprised the fact I covered it, they managed to cover it toward the end of the episode. But in the case of basically the very next chapter, they managed to cover, I'd say about the first 19 pages of the book. We saw quite something interesting, and it's kind of a spoiler for this one, but they do in fact show this at the start of the episode. Yes, this one right here. Yeah, we start with Hajime, where he's fighting her in the sky. He's got Donner in his hand. He's also got these two flying things. My guess is this is probably teased for something that happens when they adapt book 6 of the series. Yes, presumably anyways. We'll find out when they get to it. After the fight, then we have this gorgeous open test sequence. Now, I did see new character designs. Hajime, from what I can tell, didn't really change very much at all. He still looks exactly the same. I think the only thing that did change by him is that his arm is not as shiny as it was in season 1. Yue, as far as I can tell for her, no change with her at all. As a matter of fact, the main characters don't really change very much at all. I gotta say that the monsters they introduced in the episode, I at least gotta say this, they did a heck of a lot better. They actually spent more time creating these monsters than they actually worked on the ones for season 1. The one season 1 looked awful. Really bad. I think the really good ones was basically the rabbit monsters. But some of the other monsters look very terrible in the CGI. This one actually was improvement, yes, which I'll get to that. So we start off with, apparently there's more otherworld transferees, like possibly in a party. And we see also Princess Lilia. Yes, one of the many girls Hajime is presumably going to end up with. Yes, and in the books, basically, she travels with him in his big, humongous his Humvee. But not at this point. That actually doesn't happen until book 6. Is when that finally happens. Sees everybody's back. Oh yeah, the hero's back, aka Corey. And we see he's moping. Yes, because his childhood friend went with Hajime. I should point out though in the book, and I'm so glad the anime didn't cover this because this was embarrassing. Basically, he challenged Hajime to a fight over Corey's love, and he lost. It was barely noticeable. I think the only reason Hajime didn't kill him was because one of the women who loved him, Corey, she, of course, be mad at him for doing that. But lucky enough, basically, that doesn't happen. Now, Shizuku does do some little bit stuff at the beginning. You see her briefly in the outfit she sported in season 1. And pretty much, she does kind of explain Hajime's just changed. They do finally mention him. It takes a bit to finally mention the guy. Okay, I think it's, let's see, what was his name here? Kadaku. I just named Kadaku. Corey is the one basically who's the priestess. So after basically having this little dinner, of course he's moping, and of course had a little dinner, whatever. And we finally cut to Hajime about 5 minutes in. Now, when you first see him in the episode, that's from the start of chapter 1. The prelude doesn't happen till, get this, until the last couple minutes of the episode. That's when they finally cover it, because they actually put that just after what they stopped in chapter 1 for book 5. So they travel, and you have Mayu sitting on Corey's lap, and they talk about various things. Now, there's some slight wording changes here. Like, for instance, in the book, Corey is calling Hajime Daddy. In the show, she refers to him as Papa Hajime. Which, of course, he tells her, stop doing that. And then, of course, they have her and Yui argue for, like, okay, so they argue about, I know about his favorite anime and manga. And you see him when he's banging his head in the steering wheel. In the book, you're wondering what the heck he's doing in the book. He's actually muttering to himself, I'm not an otaku. I'm not an otaku. Even though he actually is. Which I think is so hilarious. Oh, and by the way, they do change one line here, which says to Yui. In the book, he says, Yui, stop talking about our sex life. In the show, he says, Yui, stop talking about nighttime. Which I think was totally appropriate that changed that because, yeah, not exactly something to talk about in the anime, which I do appreciate them changing that. So, they basically chat for a bit, and of course, then they come across giant sandworms. Yes, sandworms. This does happen in the book. I actually don't think it does. I think it's just the whole action thing was something added to the anime, which I don't mind it at all. And it shows the various new weapons that his Humvee's got. What looks like side missiles. And then apparently, where the engine apparently is supposed to be, there's a freaking turret gun there. It just pops out with a freaking hood and takes us out with the sandworms. By the way, they actually mention, though, they don't mention that Mayu was told to basically cover her eyes. They actually cut that out of the anime. So, also, she is the one basically to cover her eyes, and basically shoving Mayu's face in her chest. Because, of course, she does. And after battling those sandworms, which, by the way, these sandworms look like the designs are ripped off from Dune. I'm not kidding about it. These designs look like they're ripped off from Dune. Yeah, it's the same exact designs. I mean, the way it's presented in the anime, it almost seemed as though the anime basically took inspiration from the recent Dune movie. Or from the 80s version of the movie I think it was by David. I don't remember who actually directed the movie. It was Robert Patrick Stewart, the one with big box office bomb back in the 80s. I've seen clips of that, so I know about it. I have not sat down and watched this movie. The movie is long, real. It's like about 3 hours. Maybe a while to get through this one. So, like, after the Warrens come across a guy, which they do note in the book that he's got Egyptian garb. They actually don't know that in the anime. They actually cut that little explanation out. Where he's kind of like, oh. Of course, they do mention prior to this. Now, this, before he wakes up, they do mention that he actually is from my Overload. That actually is from the book. They actually did not change it. They actually straight from the book. So, Corey basically transfers the monarch to her crystal ring, which I think they actually added that mention in the anime. So afterwards, when he's go, oh look, a goddess, and they actually got the explanation that they're actually go-ring adventurers, and Corey being a goddess, and he's actually the son of a duke, and he's off to a particular country which they're just happily going to. And of course, I mentioned about going to a volcano, which I had the book right here. This is the book they actually got from. It's called the Grand Gurin Volcano. They actually go to this volcano in the book, and I'm looking forward to how they deal with it in the anime. And actually go there, get the sandstone, and deal with the water. Like, okay. And that's what you think the end of the episode. And then we cut to the Prelude. Believe it or not, that's what we cut to, the Prelude. We have this guy who is he's actually not in the Prelude. Where you have a guy named Freed. That's the guy's name, Freed. And the whole Prelude, from what I can tell, is spot on. Like, I was kind of surprised that the Prelude of this book basically was spot on. Like, there was nothing cut from this last little bit, probably because the Prelude was only just a few pages anyway, so there probably wasn't anything to cut. And basically the whole conversation was kind of stuff they mentioned happened in the toward the end of the last season of the show. and eventually particularly how being defeated, how many monsters. Excuse me, interesting to say the least. And I like whenever anime does this. Like a good continuity nod. Yep, mentioning the events of the later portion of season 4 for the show. Yep, and definitely looking forward to when Hydra basically counters this guy, because in the teaser I saw, he is going to counter this guy. And I believe he's going to be the main villain of the season. Yes. Yes, I believe so. Yeah, he does show in the book, and well, in the manga, he shows up in chapter 49. Yeah, both him and Mikhail both made their debut in this very episode. Oh, yeah, I remember her. Catalina. Yeah, this is from the later portion of season 1. Yeah, she appeared for like a couple episodes. It's great, though, the fact they actually... Oh, I almost completely forgot about her, because I can't really like, okay. And like, I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. So yeah, lots of references to like the last couple episodes, but no mention of the. There's a little bit. I would say there's a little bit of mention of the embarrassment. I would probably say the opening scene in the episode could be anime original. I mean, I'm not talking about the opening couple seconds with Hydra fighting that angel. That's in book 6. I know it because I have book 6 right here. That's where that comes from. When in book 6, I don't remember. It's been a while since I read the book. Now, if you're curious though, how far have I read in the actual books themselves? I read the basically book 11. I own all the books. All the books released here. I let one of my coworkers borrow the first book. I don't have the first book with me right now, but I've asked her if she had a chance to read, because she can read for a bit, because she cut her hand when she was carving a pumpkin for Halloween. And from what I can tell, her hand is a lot better now, and I have not got a chance to get answers from her. She got a chance to read the book. Yeah, I like the book. I like her opinion about the book too. Yep. But yeah, definitely looking forward to. And they talk about the Irregular, which is basically Hajime. Yeah, and that's pretty much the episode for you. Just a really damn good episode. And next week's episode is called Burning Light. Yep, that's next week's gonna be called. Now, in case you're curious, though, when the heck does next book come out? Presumably this is going to be the final book of the series. This book has been delayed several times. It was supposed to come out in June of last year, but it kept getting moved. It was supposed to be in June, and it was supposed to be this month. I think I moved to May. I think the latest is going to be released is going to be in July. So, I'm going to have to wait 6 months to read this book. Yes. Now, in case you're curious, though, no, I do not plan on reviewing the light novels, because we're going to be talking about them for the anime per se. I was sure not per se, but like in the case of series like other series like How Rare Served the Kingdom, this series, Is It Wrong to Girls Dungeon, I will be looking at the source material. But in the case of, let's say, for Is It Wrong Girls Dungeon, where they cover like a lot in just a very short span of time, this one surprisingly doesn't cover a lot. It covers a very little bit in just a 24-minute episode. Yep. But yeah, that's a particular review. Now, in case you're wondering though, like, was anything major cut from the book, from the map pages they covered? No, not really. It's mostly some line changes, which, fine. I got no problem with that at all. Line changes make total sense. Yep. So yeah, that's a particular review. I thought I would have time to do Shaman King tonight, but it's getting kind of late. I gotta get up to go to work tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Well, I think about 7 to go work at 9. Yep. So I want to make sure I mess up plenty of sleep before that, okay? Bye.